Hi and welcome back, guys. This week I want to show you, because we're getting into the Christmas spirit, how you can fill a silicone snowflake template for a Christmas decoration. But to give it a different look, we are using a range of 4 of our silver-based colours to show you the difference of what a colour can do to one single template. We're going to use our Resi Clear as well, so bear with me and let's get into creating. Okay, so just putting on our nitrile gloves. So what we'll need today, we've got our Resi Clear. I'm using the Resi Clear because we can pour that one up to the 1.5 centimetres deep and it's got a 24-hour cure time. So basically I can fill this in one day and come back tomorrow and demold these and they're ready to go. We have our few different silver-based colours. So we have our Unicorn Clear Glitter in large. We have our Stardust Chunky Glitter. We also have our Resi Foil, and this is silver foil, and our random silver holographic glitter, which is probably one of my favourites. So I'm going to use each of those in each template. Now I have mixed up our Resi Clear, so please, if you want details on how to measure and mix, refer to our mixing video, linked below. But we are basically ready to divide up our resin now, add our colours and pour away. Okay, so I've got my little dispenser cups. I'm going to divide into 4. Before I do that, what I actually want to do though is I want to pour just a little bit of my Resi Clear in first. The reason I want to do that is sometimes when you pour your glitters in straight away, if you've got a big chunky bit, it may leave a really small bubble in the corners of the snowflake. And because there's quite a lot of pointed corners, I do like to get a bit of resin in there first to avoid that happening. So we will pour a little bit in, then we will add some colour glitter to our resin and then we will top it up with that. Another reason I like to add a little bit of clear in first too is because you don't need to fill the entire snowflake with glitter and have it highly concentrated, because the glitter will sink to the bottom side, which when you demold is actually going to be the front side of your decoration, your snowflake. So there's no point wasting excessive product once the front side's covered and filling all the back up. So it's just saving on a little bit of your glitters and still filling it up with your resin. Okay, so we've divided all of our resin up. I can already see some little trapped bubbles in the corners here, and this is why I like to fill it first, because I can actually see and I can remove them. Now if I'd put glitter in here as well, the glitter would cover these little bubbles and I wouldn't be able to see them from the top side. So I'm just going to use my skewer and I'm just going to push them out of the corners here, and then when I've sort of put them to the top, I can then give my resin here a little mist with our Resi Isopropyl and pop those bubbles that have come to the surface. And that way I know when I demold, my starflake edges are going to be nice and crisp and clean and not have little bubble indents in them. Now Resi Clear, when you're using Resi Clear in the right time frame, so in the correct pot life and at the right depth, the bubble release is really good. At the moment, by pouring into a silicone mould that has little fine edges, sometimes air just gets trapped on the side of the silicone mould. So it's actually not the bubbles in the resin that I'm releasing. I'm actually just releasing the bubble, like the air that's actually trapped on the side of the silicone mould. So I'm just bringing that to the top. So if there are bubbles attached to the side of your silicone mould and you don't sort of push them or bring them to the surface, there is a chance that they will actually stay there because the silicone is, I guess, a little bit sticky. It likes to trap those air bubbles there, especially like I'm talking about in the fine points and the tight corners. So there is a chance that they will remain there if you don't remove them yourself. So now that I've moved those bubbles to the top, I'm going to give it a light mist with our isopropyl. That breaks that surface tension and pops those bubbles. So that way I know that we've got a nice clear pour and we're ready to add our glitters into our little dispenser cups. So I'm going to start with our Unicorn Clear Large Glitter, and you can never have too much glitter, so I am going to put a fair bit in. I'll mix that one up. So when I say you can never have too much glitter, the more glitter you add, obviously the less resin component there's going to be, and it will really thicken up your resin. Now, that can have its advantages, but it can also have its disadvantages when you want your resin to flow and you want to be able to pour and you want it to be able to seep into like finer holes, crevices. So if it's too chunky, you won't get that flow. But at the same time, when you could technically have it quite textured and create sort of textured art with it. But for this purpose, we want to make sure we've got a little bit of resin flow. So I'm happy with our consistency here and how much glitter we've got in this one. So I'm going to move on and add our next colour in. Okay, for my second colour, I'm going to use our Resi Chunky Glitter, which is our Stardust colour. So this is like a silver type of chunky glitter. A little bit holographic, but there's some small and larger parts of the glitter here. But again, you can never add too much. So we want to make sure we've got a nice concentration of it. Being that this is a little bit weightier as well, this is definitely going to fall straight to the front side of these silicone templates. And front side meaning when we demold them, that's the front side, so it's the bottom. Okay, mix this one in. Okay, I'm moving on to our Resi foil next, and this is in the silver. Now, foil's a little bit different again because it is quite chunky, but it is quite light. It does float. So when I pop this one in, I don't need to scoop it in. I almost need to sort of pick it up and put it in and break it up. But I still will use a skewer to do so because as you can see, it sort of comes out in big chunks. So I'll just pop that in. Get enough of it in and then I will mix it through. And that's plenty for our silver foil. It's very light and floaty too, so if you are using it with wet hands or wet gloves or anything like that, it probably will stick to you. So I always try to administer or put it in with a tool of some kind, whether it's your art paddle pop stick or a skewer. I'm just going to pop that under the surface. Just making sure it's all coated in resin. And I will have a fair amount of separation, like it's not going to basically fill all the resin. So you will see the chunks and then a fair amount of clear resin. But again, when I pour it into the snowflake mould, it will fill out and give us a different look again. Last but not least, our Resi glitter, which is our silver random holographic. And I love the colour reflection that happens on this particular glitter. So let's pop this one in. And it is another very chunky type of glitter as well. So this one will also fall to the bottom of the mould, which will be the front side when we demold. And I'm happy with that consistency as well. So now for the fun bit, let's start pouring. Okay, so just before I start to pour, I just want to give it another little mix so that way I am capturing the glitter that has sunk to the bottom of my little dispenser cup. Quick mix, and then we can pour. Just making sure I am getting in each of the little spikes of the snowflake so I get an even distribution of our glitter colour. I'll scoop out the last remaining bit. And I will do a little top up at the end with some Resi Clear just to fill my silicone mould right to the top. So one down. Once again, just stirring up my chunky glitter so it's not just sitting on the bottom and I'm not just pouring out the resin on the top. And then pouring. Now we'll add our foil in. You can see the difference with the foil because it is a fair bit lighter in weight, that it is floating, and I've got more of an even consistency with the foil throughout the resin, so not a great deal of it is sunk. Now this is chunkier when I pour it out as well, so I do want to be careful in the smaller, finer areas that a big chunk doesn't come out like it just did. And I want the smaller chunks to come out up the ends of the snowflake. I will also probably use the skewer just to move this around a bit to make sure I have it quite even throughout the mould here. Okay, so we've spread that out nice and evenly. And last but not least, our random holographic. Giving it a nice stir up and pouring in. Now, when adding glitters to your resin, especially your chunkier glitters, it does trap a fair amount of bubbles in it as well, and you'll notice those come to the surface. Especially you can see on the first one that I poured, a pile of them have come to the center there. So what I want to do is I want to give them a nice mist with our isopropyl so we can break that surface tension and get rid of those. And then with a little bit of the Resi Clear that I separated off earlier, I do want to do a little bit of a top up. But I actually want to focus on the top end of the snowflake mold, where it actually has the loop for you to tie your string through or your wire through to hang it on your tree. I want to make sure I fill that correctly and there's no bubble trapped in that. If there's a bubble trapped in it, it means when we demold it, you won't have a full circle to actually tie your string through. It'll be broken, and it means you'll have to try either fix it or tie string around it in a different manner. It doesn't make it very easy. So we will make sure when we're filling that I do focus on that. Just checking how full my moulds are. We don't want to overfill them, but I do want to make sure that they are flush with the top surface of the mould on the edges. And the reason I like to make sure that it is to the top of the surface with my resin is because if I don't have it full enough, that top point of that where the hole is for you to tie your string, sometimes the resin will sink back down to the middle and it won't fill that hole properly, so you have a solid resin hole to basically hang from. Just making sure I've got no bubbles trapped in that little top hanging hole. And I will give it one last mist with our isopropyl. And then we let this set for 24 hours and we can come back and demold. But this is a really fun way to create your own custom Christmas decorations. It's pretty simple. All we did was mix up, add our colour, and we pour, and we let it sit and we demold, and we have our own custom Christmas creations. We'll see you in 24 hours. Okay, so we've waited our 24 hours and our snowflakes have now cured. So it's actually time we can demold them. So it'll be really interesting to see how each of the different glitter types have turned out on our snowflakes. So let's start. Okay, so we have our unicorn glitter. This one's pretty cool because it sort of reflects a little bit of green and pink, but it also has a little bit of translucency to it. So if you're hanging on your tree and you have your Christmas lights in behind it, it could actually flash through it. There's one. Demold our silver foil next. And this looks cool because it's nice and bling and you can actually see that it is silver through it too. So another look again. Then we'll do our chunky glitter. And as suspected, the glitter's sunk to the bottom with this one, which is great because it's on the front side, and but the chunky glitter really captures the light. So that'd be another one that looks really great on the Christmas tree. And lucky last, this one was our silver random holographic, and probably one of my favourite just because of how the light captures on this one. I've got a little bit of overspill on this one too, so I'll just show you that. Yeah, I do like this colour the best. This is cool, this is really sparkly. But I've actually overfilled a little bit on my mould with this one. So I've actually got a little bit come off the edge of my snowflake here. So if my resin was super dry, which we're pretty much at the 24-hour mark, but needs just a tiny bit longer, I'd be able to actually just snap these little bits off. But at the moment, because it's got a little bit of flexibility, there's a couple of ways we can get around this. So I'm gonna quickly show you that. Scissors is one. So you can actually get to and cut through the resin. It just depends on your mould and your shape though as to whether your scissors can actually get to it. So I can just cut that excess off. And the other option is, which I like to do quite regularly, is actually use a chisel. So I'll just quickly show you. Just be careful, mindful of the direction that you're using your chisel, but you can actually just basically just shave it off. And one more, we'll bend this one around the top. Even just flexing it backwards and forth at the moment will just remove it. And then it may be a little bit sharp, so be mindful of that. But on your sharp bits, you can just take them off with your scissors, or even run a little bit of sandpaper over that edge to hand sand it, and you have a smooth surface again. So, but really happy with the way each of these have turned out. So it really is a matter of personal taste, and you can see how with just a silicone mould and your Resi Clear with different types of glitter in them, you can give your snowflakes a totally different look. So guys, if you have any questions about the way we've created these or the glitter range that we've used in it, please make sure you leave a comment below and make sure you like and subscribe. But until next time, we'll see you later.